by Francis Society official 1805. I hope I pronounced that right. But he asked me about Job Pat, but I just want to briefly. There's other things too in relation to social welfare and particularly Job Pat, different initiatives from the Department of Social Protection. There's many different ways I could top it here, so I hope I get covering everything. But the first thing I want to acknowledge is I forgot to acknowledge it because the election was called before it. But the government have proposed, and I just want to top of this, the government have proposed people that don't engage with social welfare, take for example Job Pat, as you said, and take for example employability is another service too in the Department of Social Protection. They're going to cut it by 90 euros. So if they say, for example, we have a scheme for you or something like that, like you go to college or something like that, or you go in and you go to talks, etc., etc. You know the way they bring you into talks, etc., etc., and you don't attend them, they cut you by 90 euros. So take for example, you'll get, I don't know what the average job seekers is. It's gone up by a few bob the last few weeks with the budget obviously, but I get into the example, but I in majority of cases, I suppose to get into it because there's different ways I could phrase it, how I feel about it, etc., etc. But just before I go any further about Job Pack, particularly you asked me about. Now, Job Pack is known as the nicest, and I have a story, not a personal story, but I knew a woman, it was in her 60s, again, near pensionage. This is how stupid job seekers, well, not job seekers, but Job Pat was. They brought the woman in, and she's 60 years old, and they're trying to get her to work. And this is a few years ago, not now, but a few years ago. Job Pat has been rebranded into some other name. They're putting another name on Job Pat because it's that dated. But long story short, they brought this woman in at 60 and tried to get her into a college to go on a computer course. And the woman doesn't even have internet in her house. It's utterly ridiculous. And the woman's near pension age and worked all her life. It doesn't make any sense, but you look at that's what the Department of Social Protection does. And another thing too, but this Department of Social Protection, job seekers, etc., etc. The problem I have, and the same with many older people, etc., is that there's so many older people. Like, take for example, my mother's a perfect example. She's not bad enough, apparently, to be on disabilities. Even though the doctors say she's bad enough, the Department of Social Protection thinks otherwise. Even some of the local TDs think she's bad enough because she has osteoporosis. So basically, if she falls now in the morning, if she was walking in a place, take for example, if she was walking in the Westwood and she falls, her bones are just cracking to bits. That'll be the end of it. Because that's how bad it is, osteoporosis and bad balance. She has a bad balance too. And the woman's nearly 60 and a few years ago they wanted to go in the Job Pat, etc., etc. And the woman, she should be on this, in terms of that, she should be really on disabilities. And there's many like her. I know many older people, they're nearly pension age, they're near the pension. I knew a few people that had heart problems, etc. We're calling them in to try and get them to walk, etc., etc., to try and get them to do so. Well, they're near the pension age. Literally, there was one man I know, he was literally a year off the pension, and they wanted them to go and work for that year in some shop or some place. They wanted them, like, that's how bad it is. Now, I think we all acknowledge there is some people in society that don't want to work. But the thing we have to acknowledge too, particularly when it comes to social protection and job seekers, it's a good initiative. In other countries, they don't have it. But I do think people would like, not like, but to find a job that they like to do. It's something that they like, have an interest in. I don't think we should be forcing people, and I hate this way with job seekers, etc., etc. I've often heard the young lads, etc., etc., been forced to work in this factory and that factory and the other factory because job seekers say so, etc., etc. This says so, and the government says so, and the NGOs say it. To work in this shop and that shop and the other shop. But I always say find something that the person likes and then they do it because they're more happier going to work, etc., etc. Don't put them in the something for the sake of ticking a box and for getting the numbers down, because that's what they try and do. They try and get the numbers down, saying, "Oh, the government are doing great," but a lot of these people are just left abandoned, really, and and that's what's happening, really, in a way, with job seekers. But this is it's a good thing that we have it, as opposed to for young people particularly that don't know what job to get. Looking for something that fits them, and again, that's all about what fits you. It's not what fits the government at the end of the day, because you're working, you're paying tax when you get a job. The government are robbing you blind. At the end of the day, they deserve to give you something out of it. And again, that's what I would say. But in a way, again, there's people that don't want to work. There's people that never worked in their life. And I do think people should work. I do think it's good for social skills. I do think it's good just to participate in society, to contribute to society in some way, even if it's only part-time. There's some people that are not fit to work, they have medical conditions, etc., etc. They're not fit to work a whole day. That's understandable. Few hours a day. That's what I'm saying. Something like that. I don't mind that. But if somebody's generally not engaged and just wants to stay in the door all their life, I think we should cut them, but we should try and engage in every possible way. That's what I see. To try and get them something to like, because everybody likes something. Take for example, it's me. just using that example, if I was, say, on job seekers or in job tactic, for example, I would say I'm interested in politics of a good queer on the environment, take for example. And they would say, yeah, we can build on that. And that's what they should say. Any good person that walks into the Department of Social, straight away they hear young lads saying that, or say, for example, sports, take for example, they could be like, yeah, I know something that you might be interested in. Instead of saying, oh, here's a shop, go and walk in the shop, and you can stay there for the rest of your life, And there's not enough encouragement. Job Pat is infamous for just kind of being down and glummy, to be told, Hansi, in a way. Because again, it's well known in Cavan. Cavan, if you good, I could tell you this, they can write the book nearly on. There's a lot of people that don't like Job Pat. And that's why they're rebranding. I think they are rebranding, last I heard of it. But it's stupid because, again, the majority of people they picked on were people that were near pension age, to bring them in. It's a joke in that way. It is a joke in that way. And again, you have to be nearly dead to be on disabilities or sick payment, etc., etc. And it is a joke, and especially, as I say, osteoporosis, even the doctor recommended that he should be put on disability allowance, because again, she has a disability, she can't walk, she walked all her life up until, recently, when she was diagnosed with osteoporosis and, bad balance. So if she fell on the ground now, no employer would take her anyway, first of all, because she was told that by one person, take for example. And nobody would, because there's too much risk on the employer. If you fell at work, she could sue you for everything, basically. And that's what it is. And, I don't think they understand that particularly, but there's many other people in the same boat as that. Take for example, my father's 71 now this year. Now this is a while ago now, before he got the state pension. They wanted them to work too. This is just a personal story. They wanted them to work, and him worked all his life. Since 14 years old. 14 years old. He worked in a sawmill. He got his fingers chopped off in a sawmill at 14 years old. Just think about that. And social welfare wanted them to work the last year of his life. They called them in to make him work, not Job Pat, but social welfare themselves. It's utterly ridiculous, to be totally honest, in that regard. But thankfully it didn't come because it was stupid. And then they came up with this statement too, that they didn't want to pay him the state pension because he didn't pay him. Like years ago there was no such thing as a pension when he worked at 14. There was no such thing as paying into a pension. I'm paying into a pension now. Paying into a pension at my age, still only 20 and I'm still paying into a pension, and I'll be probably 90 by the time I get my pension. But long story short, it was a big hullabaloo about that too. But thankfully he got it in the end, etc., etc. But what I'm trying to say is it's a complicated system. It's not a system that benefits the worker. It's not a system that benefits the only Joe. It's more to suit the government and to suit the government's narrative, etc., etc. But I do think it's important that we have a system like that, the social welfare in terms of disabilities, sickness, etc., etc., and job seekers, for example, because we shouldn't force somebody. And I say this myself, even the job I have, I love going out and doing my bit. It's just sweeping the roads. I know a lot of people look down at that and stuff like that and doing that. It's dirty work, etc., etc. But I'm happy doing it, and that's I'm happy doing it. I'm happy out, and that's the main thing. As long as you're happy, you get up in the morning, you're happy actually to go to work, etc., etc. Because the worst thing is for people to wake up and saying, "Oh, it's work day," and being all depressed and stuff like that. At least if you're happy and stuff, going to work and stuff, the day flies. That's the thing. Instead of putting you in somewhere that you don't like, you have no interest in doing it. Take for example, if it's carpentry, they put you into some carpentry workplace, right? And you have no interest whatsoever in carpentry, you're no good with your hands. So what benefit is that to anybody, to your hands? It's not benefit to the employer, it's not a benefit to yourself, it's not a benefit to anybody. The only thing it benefits is the government ticking the box saying you're off the dole, in other words, in terms of job seekers. But I do think, again, if somebody's genuine not engaging in any sort of way, I do think it's appropriate to cut them, but I do think it should be the last problem because we have to engage. And I do think the government has to engage and work with people because there's some people with special needs. They don't know, they're confused, they don't know, and they don't really care. I don't think social welfare in the majority of cases really care. They only take your number at the end of the day, in my opinion. But that's what I think. But again, I think it's more focused on just numbers, trying to get the numbers away, not to say, oh, look, full employment, and yeah, yada, 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 yada. But that's what I think, to be totally honest. That's my opinion on it. I never had any dealings with Job Pat or into that, but loads of people don't have much time for them. I'm sure majority of people who ever went into them were not the greatest. But I think that's really it. But I do support in a way, but I do not saying that if somebody just disagrees with them on, say, if they want to send them into a meat factory, I don't think they should cut them straight away. But if somebody's genuinely not engaging in over a year, say for example, they should be cut. But 90 years is pretty substantial, as I say. But in that regard, but again, this is the point I'm making, that the last possible means to do it. That's what I'm trying to say. that every other option's been exhausted, and that's the only option to make them cooperate, if that makes any sense. But I do take it, and I say this to anybody, young lad particularly, or not so much elderly people because they've worked all their life, but to a young lad, etc., a young woman starting out in life, there's some young people, I know of young people that were on the door. They didn't know where to go. They didn't know what job would suit them. And that's what job seekers is about. You look around, you try and find something that suits you. Not suits social welfare, but that's I think it's important, well, and particularly that. And again, the pressure and stuff I think that's put on by social welfare is not needed. But again, I do think it's important in a way, as I said earlier on. It's important to contribute to society. It's important to be a part of society. And it's supposed to you to interact with people too. It's a good thing to make friends. Jobs, say for example, I've made hundreds. Well, not hundreds, but that's a big example. But I made tons of friends, walking, etc., New people, you got to know people, etc. It's a good system. So I leave it there. I don't know if that answers your question now, but that's just my opinion on it. So, thank you.